Podcast episode 114. I'm very excited. Flick Money, very excited. Chad Chop, very excited. Like, we need a code word today in case we get a little overexcited. We got a guest on the podcast today. First one in like a year. It's been a while. But that's a tease. I'll tell you who the guest is, or you can just read the title of the episode. I'm very happy to see you both. I want to go ahead and shout out of the week our awesome Cassidy Moss of Louisville, Texas. She facilitated a big equipment donation to the fire victims of Altadena. So a huge sportsmanship, character, integrity salute for Cassidy Moss. She's our shout out of the week. The whole episode brought to you by Cassidy. Way to go. Also, a shout out to the guy that signed this guitar behind me. The White Stripes are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, Jack White, co-owner of Warstick. Hint, hint, that's a tease of who our guest is today. He's now coaching a 13U team for Warstick. The guy's name's Kevin Youkilis. So, Flick Money, I'll start with you. What are you excited about for the Uke coming on the pod? You're dressed to the nines, brother.
Coach, I wore my date night shirt. I'm so excited for Kevin Youkilis. Uke, the Greek god of walks, gets a by name shout out in Moneyball. He's not even an Oakland A, okay? The guy is a two-time World Series champion. I mean, he had pine tar on his face. He had dirt in his ears. He had the great batting stance. Obviously, I'm a little bit fired up. Just give me if we just get the word simmer into any kind of a sentence, that'll be my cue. You're a little bit overdoing it. We don't want to come too strong and scare. It's a first date situation. Let's not put on Eric Clapton's Old Love, right out of the gate on the right when we start the date. You know what I mean? Let's
Bring in
just
Mariano
simmer.
Rivera into the first inning. We're going to have to slow the roll. Oh, that would be a shabingus like we haven't seen in decades. Chaparuski, you're in Arizona. What do you remember? What do you love about our guest today, Kevin Youkilis?
And a grinder, known for being a great teammate and just doing anything the team requires. Super excited to pick his brain. Yeah, he's the Yuke's the man.
Grinder, an on-base machine. I highlighted that one, and just a freaking baseball player, right? I don't even know if that's a curse word, but it shouldn't be. He's a freaking baseball player. Before he comes on, I will say that the first 113 episodes that we've done, it's meant to train parents and coaches how to create ball players like this guy, who may not look like the five-tool player. He has quoted himself as saying, I don't know if I have any tools, maybe a zero-tool player. But, come on, 3 All-Star games, 2 World Series, one of the most respected guys ever in that Boston Red Sox clubhouse. So super fired up. He'll be on in just a few minutes, but hey, I want to try and unpack that email that I got this morning, and I did a post on it, but I think it's worth reading to lead off the pod today. This is from Coach Amanda, and if this isn't what the podcast is all about, then I don't know what is. Also, if this doesn't fire you up, then your wood is wet. But here you go. We lost every game last season. I lost my assistant coaches at the end of last season, and one of them told me that I'd never be a successful head coach because my focus was on fun and development. I stayed true. This season we worked, and we had fun, and we won a few games. Then we went to a tournament and ended up facing a team from our league that plays select and only plays rec for the field time. They're undefeated in our league. They came into this rec tournament for trophy chase only. We stayed true to our values. We loved each other. We played good, clean softball. We beat this undefeated select team tonight 7-6 and are going to the semifinals. One of the umpires shook my hand tonight and said, "The good guys always win. Thank you for giving me this path. Chad Chop, Sean Flicky, Coach Ballgame on this podcast. Thank you for always confirming that I'm doing the right thing. We're making good softball players and great people. Our guest just arrived, so I'm going to let him in, but just let that sink in for a little bit, and we can unpack that after our interview. But man, it's the best email I've ever gotten. It just fired me up, and that's why we need a hashtag simmer today if need be, because it's one of those days, and and that day is now complete. The man in the bottom right corner of my screen, he completes me. We've never met. We've only texted, but you can see him if you're watching the YouTube. It's the one and only Kevin Youkilis, full description from Cincinnati, Ohio, three-time All-Star, two-time World Series champ, Gold Glover, Hank Aaron Award. What's that? Best hitter in the American League, Red Sox Hall of Famer, and maybe my favorite, the all-time hit by pitch record for the Boston Red Sox. That's where me and him, that's where we connect. I'm the all-time hit by pitch record holder at Brown University. I black salute the Uke, all-time at Boston Red Sox. Am I coming in too hot, Uke? Because we're just kind of fired up today, brother.
No, I think that's the best one. It's actually kind of funny too. It's at the your my Hall of Fame plaque with the Red Sox. That's the last statement on there. Record holder for hit by pitches, and for me, I think it is one of those things where you take pride in it. You don't take pride in how much abuse you take with it, but it's the pride you take where you're wearing one for your team, and I think a lot of it you don't realize too, and it came years later. I was wearing it because I was the guy that was going to take it. When you go back and forth, I think that era is kind of gone a little bit of hitting guys. You hit one guy, we hit another. For some reason, I was that guy. But it helps in two ways. One, somebody else is not getting hit. And if you can take it, that's great. But it's also two, it's getting on base and scoring runs.
Bang, 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 bang. Well, I always kind of questioned afterwards, why did I get hit so much? And I think I've narrowed it down to two things. I was pretty annoying from the dugout. I was always hollering like my favorite cereal and just kind of loosening up my teammates as they were getting in the box. And then when I was out in center field, there was a lot of 7-year-old boy energy, a lot of running around, a lot of yelling, running into things. And I think the other team was just like, let's just bean this guy and maybe he'll shut up. And it just never happened. So I just kept talking, and now I'm talking a lot now. I want to introduce you to my two best friends. Top left, Coach Chop, World Series champion coach with the Dodgers, with the Giants. He's been on this pod with me for all 113 episodes. And then my mentor, like my coach ball game, went to Stanford, played with a lot of amazing folks, including the manager of the Detroit Tigers right now. And he taught me how to engage kids, how to get them to love the game. And he dressed up real nice for you. He's super pumped. So Flick Money, I'll pass the mic to you. What do you're looking at him face to face? What do you got for the on base machine?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm so excited, man. The Greek god of walks. I mean, right here in front of me. It just fires me up. Uke. So many things I would love to pick your brain about, but I do want to own that I am wearing my date night shirt. I'm happily married. I don't want to come across the wrong way, but just know my heart is swelled up like a watermelon right now. So I guess my first question to you is, you were talking about uh, you get called up with the Red Sox in 2004. Is that right? That's in May. You're called up.
May
Pretty good.
15th.
May 15th. Pretty good team to get called up to.
Yeah.
That 2004 Red Sox team. And we talk a lot about having fun. We're trying to, get the fun back into the game because there's sort of been a professionalization of youth sports vibe kind of happening for a while now. And a lot of people say, well, big leagues, professional baseball, they do it different. This thing you're trying to do, it doesn't necessarily translate. But all the vibes I get off that 2004 team are that you guys were all business on the inside, but there was a lot of party out front. There was a lot of fun out front. Can you give us a little inside baseball into how did fun play into the incredible season you guys had in 2004?
Yeah, I think the first thing is if this is for kids, there's some things I can't, if kids are listening to this, there's a lot of things we can't talk about.
Mostly
On
parents,
those things.
and I can edit anything out, but it's mostly dads. But they do listen to this pod with their kids sometimes on the way. So PG-13's good.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I always do because that's the one thing you learn is the big thing in life is some things don't need to leave the clubhouse. I actually think, especially kids. Kids don't need to know a lot of stuff that happens. Especially that team was a lot of veterans. So going into a team like that, a lot of things you're trying to do is just fit in. It's really hard, one, just to play Major League Baseball. It's even harder to fit in with a bunch of veterans. The key for me was really just using my eyes, using my ears, listening, observing, and through the observations that I had, there was a couple things that I learned in my progression to get to the major leagues. I was in big league camp with these guys a couple years. And what I learned the most was not everything that these guys tell you applies to you individually. I think that's one of the hardest lessons that coaches need to understand is to be a really good coach, you coach to the player. It's similar to being a parent. You have three kids, they're all unique in their own ways. You have to parent them to motivate them in different ways. So first and foremost, the one thing I, hate most about what coaches do is they try to put their stamp on things. You always give credit to the players. Terry Francona would say it best. Like he would say, "Hey, listen, keep me out of the game. You guys just do it. I don't want to be a part of the game." And Jason Varitek would come before the game and joke around like, "Hey, keep Tito out of it. Let's go, boys." And that would be the only thing Tech would say the rest of the game, right? So Tech wasn't much of a talker in that regard, but he would always say that joke before the game. And Tito would always shake his head like, "Yes, please. I don't want to manage. You guys go do your thing." But that team was special in a lot of ways because it was a lot of different personalities. When you have a team of a lot of personalities, it can go south real quick. But the one thing these personalities had in them was the will and desire to win ball games. Your differences have to be let go once those light bulbs come on and you cross those white lines. You play as a unit, then you deal with other stuff as the game gets over. That team was absolutely phenomenal about that. Every team has their cliques. From the outside world, people are like, "Hey, do you still talk to everyone?" I'm like, unfortunately, we all don't talk to each other like we're best friends. It's funny, your youth baseball or your high school or college, you're more likely to probably stay in touch with those guys than you are at the major league level. And when you're playing, one person said to me one time, if you have five guys you stay in contact with, that's amazing. And when you're playing, you're like, what? Like, no way. Like we're all, we're in this, we're texting each other, we're doing stuff, as a team. And then the realization comes after you retire that is true. But fitting into that team, all I was trying to do was one, show that I'm ready to play at the major league level and would do anything that they asked of me to play at that level. So I was and so my first day, in the big leagues, I faced Pat Hankin, which was a really cool thing as a Cy Young Award winner. And then the next day was Roy Halladay. So it was like back to back, welcome to the big leagues. And getting in my second at bat, I hit a home run off Pat Hankin. So that kind of took away a lot of nerves. Because when you go deep in your first game, you're like, wow, I can play here. I just hit a home run, right? And then the realization comes a little bit later that, it is a tough, they're figuring me out. I have to adjust. So for me, and going back to listening, I had a really tough time my first time going to AAA within the Red Sox organization because I listened to everybody. 10 guys were telling me, "Hey, you need to do this," because they were older veteran guys. And I started listening and I was trying to do everything they were telling me. And I totally lost my identity of who I was as a ball player. And then that happened in 2023. And that was the best learning experience for me was now I'm coming up to the major league level. I'm going to listen but I'm going to filter out things that don't apply to me, but respectfully sit there and, nod my head and be respectful to the veterans. But the one thing they taught me the most was how to be a professional. Having a bunch of veterans around is the key to success for any ball team. If you have too many young players, it can get a little crazy and a little dicey. And that's why the veteran presence is such a big deal. And that '04 team was filled with a bunch of great guys that really helped my career and helped build me up, not just on the field, but off the field as well.
I love you just I mean, man, that's there's about 12 sound bites there that we could unpack. I love the cool you just breezed right over the dinger, second at bat in your major league career. I mean, was were I'm wondering, was family there? What happened after the game, as far as celebration goes? Because that's a very big deal. Major league debut and a dinger. How'd you party after?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was lucky. My parents, I was, born and raised in Cincinnati. So the flight from Cincinnati to Toronto was quick. So my parents got on a flight, they came up. Uh, and then after, we went, I think we went to dinner. And then afterwards, I went out with Lenny DiNardo. So he was a rookie at that time. And it was just us two. We were the only two rookies at that time. And we went out and partied up a little bit and had some fun to celebrate. But yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy just to know that one, like the greatest joy of being in the major leagues that people don't know is you don't carry your own bags. So when you don't have to carry your own equipment and carry your own bags, like that was the biggest deal. But those are kind of the things I remember was celebrating that. But then, hey, don't party too hard tonight because tomorrow you got Roy Halladay on the mound, and that was when Roy Halladay was the dude. Like he was like so hard to face. I actually got a hit off him the next day, and I think it was a base hit to right center field. And so then it was like, okay, I can compete here and do all that. But that was the one thing is in anything you do in life, right? And there's a lot of players that had this problem was they couldn't balance. They couldn't balance the fun and the profession at the same time. And for me, I always did a really good job of having my fun, but also balancing with, hey, this is a job, this is what you want to do, and your love of it has to, be controlled in a routine-based environment. And so for me, I made sure that night not to go too hard, but have a lot of fun and enjoy my time. But no, hey, you got to keep shining because they can always send you down. So luckily, I got to stay up and play for a couple more months after that. Bill Miller had a knee surgery, so it gave me an opportunity to show my skills. And who would ever thought that we would win that World Series at the end of the year? I mean, it was one of the most phenomenal years of my life. Some of it's a blur now. You don't remember a lot of it, but you'll never forget those memories that you created in your first year.
Unbelievable. And this character aspect, it comes up every episode. We're talking to parents and coaches who are trying to teach T-ballers, 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, high school, even college coaches, and parents navigating these worlds. Um, did you have a mentor early on that prioritized character over talent? Because I mean, you were quoted as saying, "I might be a zero tool player, maybe one, not sure, but one of the most respected guys to ever come out of that Red Sox clubhouse and MLB in general." So take me back a bit. Was there somebody?
Well, yeah, there's one guy that I mean, I hung out with Mark Bellhorn a lot. That was one guy that we hung out a bunch with. I personally hung out with, and as a group, um, there were so many guys on that team. Trot Nixon, being the original Dirt Dog label, and just the way he went about it. Loved the way he went about his style. Bill Miller was a big help in a lot of ways. Just watching him. Uh, I got to watch Manny Ramirez hit every day, and Manny never said one word. He never talked about hitting, but he didn't need to talk about hitting. The key was watching and seeing how he did it, and then trying to figure out how that applies to my body type my mechanics of what I'm trying to do and trying to figure out, okay, he stays through the ball really well this way. He does this. What's his routines? And so all these guys, had routines or did it a certain way. So for me, Manny was one that I just tried to watch. And the big one for me was, how do I keep my hands inside the ball real well, where I'm not trying to pull the ball too much? But when I get that pitch and that opportunity, how do I keep my hands inside the ball like him and not get hook friendly? Like Kevin Millar was a different player. Kevin Millar was a pool guy. So I felt I can't be Kevin Millar because I went the other way really well. So that was a guy that I wasn't really watching per se. Kevin Millar was a leader in the clubhouse, fun, happy-go-lucky, and learned a lot from him in that regard. But like Manny was the guy that we would sit and watch and just try to emulate his routines and BP, where he wouldn't hit a lot of home runs. And then Millar, of course, would always be like, "Come on, Manny, let's hit. It's home run round." And Millar would get him to like finally in the last round hit a bunch of homers. But that was for me was just really observing Manny and watching what he did every day. He was very meticulous about his hitting routines. He was very meticulous about his batting practice. And then also, but this also goes back to why you can't just be that person is Manny would go up there and take 3 fastballs in his first at bat and he would strike out looking. And we'd all be on the bench like, what are you doing? Like, what was that game plan right there? Like, you're Manny Ramirez. Swing the bat, dude. Like, come on. That was a fastball right there. You should crush it. Second at bat, he gets that breaking ball, hits a home run. So he had a great game plan. So learning that part was awesome, right? He didn't sweat that. He just, but I wasn't that type of player. So it's going back to why you take a little bit from other people is I couldn't do that. I'd be done. If I took a fastball right down the middle, strike three, my first at bat, mentally, that would kill me. That would crush me. So I would say, okay, I'm going to do the routine based of what he does in BP, the way he goes about in the cage, little stuff like that, try to build up my own routine that worked for me, but not try to apply that same method of, hey, I'm going to look breaking ball because I had to hit off the fastball and adjust to the breaking ball. And that's what worked for me.
Yeah. Go, Flick.
Uke, I did a little research. Your dad was a notable third baseman in the Cincinnati fast pitch softball circuit. I guess my question for you is, if we were to go back, we were to see you. Let's say you're 9 or 10 years old. You're playing Little League baseball. My two questions are, what would we see from Papa Uke? How was he around the game? How was he at games? How was he, on the car ride? Because we get a lot of parents listen to this and they're trying to figure out how much gas pedal and how much brake should I have as a parent who I want to support my kids' dreams. They might be my dreams that died a little bit, we get a little bit of that. So how would we have seen Papa Uke be around the game? And then the second question is, what other sports were you playing, or were you playing other sports, or were you a baseball year-round guy? This is another really popular question for us.
Yeah, so growing up in Ohio, you can't be a baseball player year round. The weather doesn't apply there. And I think that's why there's a lot Cincinnati's been a hotbed for talent, for ages, since Don Zimmer was around, probably even before him, because the Reds had the first major league team. So baseball was a big deal. My dad was very influential in many different ways. I try to revert back to, what did my dad say, here and there? My dad just really just showed up and threw to us and played catch with us. He built a batting cage in the backyard out of wood and mulch and all that. Like he was all in on that. And a lot of it was just letting us do our thing, what we wanted to do, and then just trying to help us along the way by providing for us. The greatest lesson I ever learned from my dad was when I played for this team called Knuckles in Cincinnati. We went on to win the national championship, the AAU national championship in Cocoa Beach, Florida, when I was 14. I was going into my freshman year. And at the beginning of it, so I tried out for this team. I made this team. And I was so excited because it was probably one of the best teams in Cincinnati. Back then, travel ball was different. There was 5 teams in the whole city, right, that were like legit. And that's why they hence call it travel ball. You go and travel and go to Indiana, you go to Kentucky, you go to Tennessee, you go to different places to play the best talent. Now we know That's not what happens. And I actually think it's what's wrong with baseball right now, where people say people are keeping up with the Joneses saying they want to play travel ball, but the kids aren't even dominating in Little League. But the hard part of that too, on the flip side, is kids loving the game and playing the game. You want them to play. It's a hard balance of what are we doing here versus, wait, no, this is also fun for these kids to do it. But I'll never forget a car ride. I wasn't playing much in the beginning. And there was a group of us that didn't play as much as other kids, and we called ourselves the Benchies. And so anytime the Benchies got in and had a big game we would go nuts, right? The Benchies would go, be cheering for each other and all that. So we created this little clique within, like the Benchies, and we would come in. And so I would fill in, I'd pitch a little bit, but I was really upset. And I'll never forget the car ride. I can still remember where my dad stopped the car. I was crying I was in the back seat. I was frustrated. I was crying. I was emotional. He stopped the car, pulled over, and he said, "That's enough. I am done hearing you moan and groan and cry that you're not playing. If you want to play, I can bring you back to your rec team right now. You can go back, you can go play rec ball, you can go play every day, you can play with your friends." He's like, or you have a choice. You can keep working hard and proving to them that you are able to play on this team and contribute in a big way. And I'll never forget that moment where it just clicked. I said, yep, I got to get better. I'm going to show them. I'm going to prove to them that I can play. I got more playing time as it went on. I was the starting pitcher. This is actually kind of funny. I was the starting pitcher in the national championship game against Chet Lemon School of Baseball. And then my teammate, Aaron Cook, came in to close it out. So we were the two guys that made it to the major leagues off that team. But that team was pretty loaded. There was a kid named Chad Pennington, not the quarterback, that went to Arizona State. If you go back to the Gorilla Ball with LSU, him and Ryan Mills were the pitchers there at Arizona State at the time. We were a loaded team. Jason Basil was one of the best catchers I've ever seen. He unfortunately got the yips at catching, and that was like the hardest thing. He went to Georgia Tech, played left field, hit a bomb against us at UC in my freshman year. I'll never forget. But going back to, as a parent, you can make or break your child. And you have to learn how to it's like driving, right? Hey, we're going to have to speed up here a little bit. We're going to have to motivate our kids. But then we're going to have to pump the brakes a lot of times, because if we don't pump the brakes, if we're always having that negative talk in the car, it becomes a full-time job for these kids. Their minds are not fully developed. And the one thing I see in coaching that drives me nuts in travel ball when I coach is the yelling at kids when they make mistakes. I cannot stand the yelling at kids at young ages, because you're expecting them to play like a major leaguer. You're expecting them to have the baseball knowledge that you have at 40 to 50 years, 30s to 40s to 50-year-olds have of the game. They're not there yet. They have not accumulated enough time within the game to fully comprehend all the little things. Now, you might have one, and the hard part too is you might have one or two players on your team that have a higher baseball IQ, and you're like, come on, be like Timmy, be like Johnny, what the heck? But that's not going to happen. And you have to understand that every time. There's a couple kids that you're going to have to coach more. There's a couple kids that you're not going to have to coach as much. You're just trying to sharpen that blade a little bit on those players. So to me, the big thing that parents need to learn and understand is, one, they don't need to play for multiple teams in order to be great. They need to play with, and build camaraderie, learn how to play as a teammate. The problem with these kids that are jumping around to all these teams they are basically a golfer. They're an individual. You're creating an individual sport for these kids. If you allow them to be on a team, work hard with that team all year round, they learn a lot more in the values of life as they go forward, building relationships, having a tough time with a teammate, working through all those things. And a lot of parents also don't realize that you don't have to play for the best team for your kid to be getting better and better and better. I actually say this: if my kid's not on the best team and he's playing the best teams, he's facing the best pitching, right? So that is an added bonus for my kid. Just because he's not on the best team, he's playing baseball against the best of the best. And that, to me, is something parents have a hard time and they struggle with, is at young ages, are you looking to your kid to love the game and develop, or are you looking just for wins? Because there's a lot of teams that just want to win, but what are they doing for the betterment of your child? They might be throwing them 70 pitches on a Saturday. They might bring him back out on Sunday and throw another 40 pitches. Now, he might not be hurting from that now, but every single year after, the wear and tear on the arm goes downhill quick. And this is where we're seeing the surgeries in teenage kids in high school, is that people aren't realizing they're hurting their kids too young.
And I'm so glad that guys like you, Red Sox Hall of Famers, just World Series champions, are noticing this as they have kids. And we've had many on the podcast who have World Series rings just like you, and they're like, I had to step in. I got to do something for my kid. I had to start coaching my kid. We're going to close out this interview talking about what you're doing now with War Stick down in the San Diego area with your kiddos. But Chopper, I'm passing the mic over to you, brother. What do you got?
Uke, what's up, buddy? Thank you for being here. Question that I have for you is, through high school, college, pro ball, who was one or two influential coaches, and what made them influential?
Yeah, good question. I had a really good travel ball coach at the end. Pete, we had, you know, there was a couple, the Mouse brothers. They were at Hamilton Baden, and both of them were huge influences on me when I was younger, helping out, through the hard times of not having college people look at me and stuff like that. And then, it was hard for me because I didn't get a lot of looks. I had University of Cincinnati and I had Butler University were the only people that looked at me. UC looked at me just basically because I showed up to camp in winter, and Brian Cleary, the head coach, was like, he's better than what we got, so let's try it. So for me, Brian Cleary became a huge figure for me in a lot of ways in college. I played every pitch at the University of Cincinnati in 4 years. He entrusted to me. The first year we battled a little bit because I was trying to do stuff hitting and he wanted me to do a certain way. I hit 289, which isn't that bad in college, but for me, it was like you go from hitting 500 in high school to 289. I thought I was awful. But he really helped in a lot of ways. We talked about the mental side of baseball. We talked about, not spiraling out of control. But the biggest one was the breaking balls. He kind of, broke it down like, here are the percentage of guys that can throw this pitch for a strike. So why are we going up there swinging, at sliders early and not recognizing pitches? Get your pitch to hit, find a good pitch that you can drive early, and then battle with two strikes. And that was kind of my philosophy, and got me to draw a lot more walks, to drive the ball, to be a high average guy in college. And Brian Cleary was great with me. And you'll read some quotes. He's like, I didn't have to do much with Kevin. He kind of coached himself, but it's not true entirely. Being a good coach is also knowing that some kids you have to just let them do their thing and then just try to refine them and keep them in control when they're struggling and doing stuff. And he was great about that. And I had a unique stance in college too. It was very unique, and I didn't get drafted for that reason. People didn't think I could hit, but lo and behold, I had to prove my worth every step I went, right? And Arnie Baylor was a great first pro ball coach. He was in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I'll never forget the greatest coaching moment he gave to me. It was my first at bat, and I faced this pitcher, and he threw me a first pitch, like he threw me like a fastball away. Then he threw me a slider, and then he threw me a changeup, and I struck out. And I was so pissed because I hated striking out. But, he came back to the dugout after I went back out to the field, and he said, hey, he goes, you think that was a bad at bat? And I said, yeah. And I looked at him like he's crazy. I said, of course that was a bad at bat. I just struck out on 3 pitches. He goes, that's not a bad at bat. He goes, you saw all of his arsenal in the first at bat of the game. Now you've seen everything he has. He's got to come at you again. Went on to get 2 hits off that starter the next 2 at bats. So, little by little, I had a lot of great coaches, and the biggest one and the biggest influence was my father. My dad was such a big supporter of me, just teaching me to be a good man. My dad was a really good human being and a good man. And I had such competitive juices that, and I still do to this day, you can't take it out of you. And I think I passed it on the DNA to my kids as well. And my wife's competitive too, so it doesn't help. But it's how you refine it. It's how you make sure to keep them good people, but not lose that competitive edge. And I had a lot of good coaches along the way that, and it was tough. Like I got hit a lot too because people didn't like my competitiveness on the field. They didn't, but if they got to know me as a person, they would like me. But they just didn't like the way that I was so competitive and played emotional out there and just wanted to win and do good things. So Terry Francona, at the major league level was probably one of the best because he mixed humor. His humor was off the charts, self-deprecating, paired with just, giving you good sound advice. Like he would tell me, "Hey, get jammed here." Because I was out in front rolling over balls. He's like, "Get jammed." I'm like, "Get jammed?" He's like, "Yeah, trust me, get jammed on this pitch." And I was like, all right. So I go up there, I get jammed, get a base hit into center field, and he sit there and just like give me one of these. And then next thing you know, I'm raking again. So there was a lot of good influences along the way. And I think the key is when you're getting advice from coaches too, ask good questions. The problem is don't just take it as gospel. Ask the why, get in detail, and because your verbiage sometimes doesn't match their verbiage. So if you don't understand, players are scared to ask questions sometimes. Ask more questions because if you don't understand it and the coach thinks you understand it, the frustration gets bigger and the divide and the gap gets bigger for the player and the coach. So my best advice to parents out there is have your kids really ask good questions, especially if they're not understanding. A lot of kids just will say yes, yes, just to appease a coach. It doesn't really work. Make sure they definitively understand what that coach is saying.
And if you're the coach and you don't have a good answer, you need to change it because you want to welcome that. Like, hey, tell my players all the time, ask me questions. If I don't have a good answer for why we're doing a drill or why we have a mindset, shame on me. So yeah, 100%. I love that. Thanks, you.
Yeah. And the big one too is coaches need to also say, you know what? That's a really good question. I don't have an answer for you now. I will find the answer for you.
That you build respect. Yeah.
Oh, this is music to my ears, man. I'm eating it up. Consumption galore, Flick Money. You are now coaching your son, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe multiple kids in your household, but Warstick, 13U. Uh, why now? Why are you coaching 13U travel ball?
Yeah, so I got two boys. They're 12 and 10.
Uh,
It's fun because one's a righty, one's a lefty. So that's always exciting when you have to try to teach a left-handed swing, but luckily his swing is really good. It's always been really good. These dang lefties, man, they just
yeah.
they wake up and they have a swing for some reason. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, the reason I'm doing it is that one, this is the start of the transition, right? We're going to 54-foot pitching mound, we're going to 80-foot bases, and this is the most development focused years you need to have versus just games because it is such a struggle for a lot of kids, especially the smaller kids. And I just don't want these smaller kids to get weeded out. I want them to understand that it's okay. We're going to develop, and through that development, everyone's going to be better as they move forward. I want to teach the love of the game, and I want to be able to control of the fun. I want to control the health and wellness of these kids. I'm not trying to be a controlling person. I'm just trying to keep them away from hurting themselves or parents hurting their kids. And I think 13U is the right time where travel ball becomes more serious. Little League's over. I'm coaching Little League now, and I finally understood that I think I might need to remove myself as a coach from Little League with my youngest one too, like help out, but not coach. I like you get to a point where you're kind of like, I'm not saying I'm better than it. It's just the frustrations of the competitiveness of me as a coach is not applicable for that level right now. And it gets a little tough, but that's what you have to do. You have to take your ego out of it and say, you know what, maybe it's not best fit here. Maybe it's best fit doing the travel ball for, kids that are a little more advanced. And for me, I'm trying to build a team, a balanced team of kids that love the game, that are competitive, that are coachable. There's a lot of kids out there that are talented, but they're not coachable. We want to have a good group of kids that have the highest amount of talent, that have the drive, the willingness, and the coachability, the character guys. But then you know how it is. There's kids, they're kids. They're gonna have these struggles, and we have to rein them back in. So Team War 6 San Diego, it's gonna be a 13U team. It's kids going into 7th grade. We have tryouts on May 18th in Encinitas at Eki Sports Park, and I'm just really excited to see what we got. The one thing I'm not excited for is the fact that you have to cut kids. It's the hardest thing to do as a coach. Uh, Parents sometimes take it personal. It's nothing personal. I was cut when I was 13 in junior high. I was cut again at 16 from the Midland baseball team in Cincinnati. So my heart goes out to all those parents that are dealing with cuts. But trust me on this, your kid being cut at a young age from a team has no bearing on their future in the game. You can be the parent that takes it personal, creates a negative energy and negative excuses for your child, or you can teach it as a learning moment for them to say, hey, it's okay. There's other teams. You're going to make a team. You just got to work on these things, get better, and just prove that you're better. And then maybe the next year you try out, you make the team. But don't give up, keep working hard, and don't think that just because you're not on a certain team doesn't mean you don't have a future in the game of baseball.
I can't wait for Warstick 13U Team Uke meets up with Coach Chopper's pups in Arizona, because now we're talking about two major league individuals coaching our youth, two of the best I know. What are you going to do, Uke, with that coach, that team that's toxic? You just feel it from the other side, from the bleachers. It's chasing trophies. It's not big picture. Um, you just gonna how you gonna attack that?
Well, that's something I have to work on. I've already there's been a couple incidents that have happened. Um, every single incident that's happened on the field has related to one thing: the constant moaning and groaning of balks. I lose my cool, because if you are from inning one moaning and groaning about balks and your kid is not being thrown out, not getting picked off, you are you're just out of control. You're just out of control. And every time I see it from the first inning, it's always in the first inning when it happens. I know we're in for a long game of moaning and groaning and yelling. The big one for me is you have to keep your cool. You have to sit back a little bit, but it really is hard for me when I see these coaches yelling and screaming at their kids really early on. But there's not much you can say. All I say is, hey, like I might say hey, listen, your guys are going to balk a little bit. Our guys might balk a little bit. If we're gonna go back and forth and yell at the umpire all game, it's not going to be about the kids playing the game. If you want to argue about them getting thrown out or getting picked off, that's fine. But let's stop moaning and groaning about balks all game, because you're not really focused on what matters. And two, the umpire's not calling it, so it might not be a balk. You might think it's a balk. And I think that's the one thing, is a lot of people don't know what a balk is. They just, so I always say, my big rule with my parents are, we don't yell balk from the stands. We don't yell anything, to the umpires, in regards of, different things. Let us help. Let us do it as coaches. And I think my biggest test as a coach will come with what you just presented, is keeping your cool when it's unprofessional on the other side. So that is something I'm going to have to work on and grow at, and be really good at. But like everything in life, we're not perfect. I might have a bad day. I just hopefully won't make it on a YouTube video.
Let's hope not. And hey, there's always room for apologies. These are two of the best travel ball coaches I know. Do you guys have advice for Uke when it's moany and groany from the other dugout? Chopper?
Yeah, I tell my boys to control we can control, and we really focus on, like, man, that's not how you do it. Talking to you, it reminds me of, I just pulled up, that's why I got my readers on you. Anytime I get my readers on, I'm going through some PowerPoints. But looking at just goals for a travel team, and it's cultivate major league humans, right? And that's defined as confident, humble, empathetic, fearless, resilient, creative, great teammates, ability to control the controllables, kind and hardworking. And like you sparked that in me of that's your focus. And it's fine if you get cut. That's actually a blessing. It's all about how you respond as a player and as a parent. So yeah, we want everybody to be on TV someday, but that's not realistic. If it is, that'd be sick. We break a record. But the key is, can we cultivate these major league humans? And so I'm pumped for you. There's a good chance I'm going to end up in Orange County here really soon, coaching
Love
some
it.
club teams. So I will make that drive up there with some boys that will compete our tails off. One team will win, the other team will learn. It'll be a beautiful thing.
I love that. Yeah, that Irvine, that new facility in Irvine is absolutely incredible. That it's like $1.1 billion. USC's playing there this year.
Yeah,
It's
Great
an
American
easy
Ballpark.
drive. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yep.
great drive for us. That's
Man,
awesome.
can I broadcast that game? Pups
Heck
versus
yeah.
Heck
Warstick.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. And no moaning about balks.
Box are
No
allowed.
balking.
Yeah.
Flick money. Advice for the uke when man, he's ready to charge the mound because it's getting moany and groany over there.
Yeah, I just love the energy, Uke, of taking the focus off of what the umpires are doing. If they were professional level umpires, they'd be professional umpires. So these are kids, you by and large, or you very young people. Occasionally you get the older guy out there, but without them, it's just all we're doing is practicing. So having a sense of appreciation that we get to play a game, taking the parents out of the mindset that we're gonna get after these umpires, because it's like what you said about being cut. If I create negative energy and I start getting in that blame cycle, it's someone else's fault that it's not going the way we want it, then we get into that. It really is kind of a negative spiral inwardly where we start blaming externalities and we get out of who we are, what we're about. So I think that's a huge one, just that culture piece. But in terms of the other dugout, what's happening over there, Chopper's taught me a lot about having courageous conversations before the game even starts. So you can get the vibe right from the beginning, right? You can, right when you get to the yard, you know who they are. They're already screaming and yelling. Some of those guys are about 15 cups of coffee and two Red Bulls into the day already. They don't look healthy. The whole vibe is not healthy. So if you can get over there and have a courageous conversation with them early on, just, hey, how you doing? Hey, excited to play you guys, just sort of setting a vibe. I think it can do a little bit to ease some of the anxieties. And if it doesn't, if they're just straight, jerks, then I take that energy and we're going to turn it to our kids, and we're going to get in the huddles. We're going to get a little bit fired up. Hey, these are the guys. If you ever wanted to turn it up a notch and have some fun beating somebody and getting after someone, today's the day to do it. I think that's a great way to channel that energy, so that we, kind of shield ourselves from the negative vibes, but we turn it into internal fire. Those are fun days at the yard, man. I'm so excited I can't even imagine that being 13 and they're like, oh yeah, your coach this year is Kevin Youkilis. I would honestly, they'd have to give me an extra pair of sliding shorts, man. I'd have to change out real quick. I'd be so fired up. So okay, thanks for coaching, man. I'm just so appreciative of, for those young people and those families. What a gift.
Yeah, the funny thing too is there was a 17-year-old kid. We were in Arizona, and he was coaching first, and he said something about a balk, and I'm like, that's not a balk. I was sitting right there. I was like, God, and he goes, and he like gave me this smirk and like attitude, and he started going at me, and I'm like, whoa, like this is a kid, right? And then he said, hey, we're not friends, and I was like, wait, what? Like, and then I literally looked at him. I was like, hold on. I was like, wait. I was like, and I said, do you know who I am? Because I don't know who you are. I said, all that matters is respect. We respect each other. I don't know who you are, and you don't know who I am, and that's okay because you're 17. You probably didn't watch me grow up playing baseball. That's totally cool. I get it. But this kid had no idea that there's a major league coach right there, And now I have eyes on you, and now I'll never forget this the rest of my.
Yeah.
So when I see you and we play against each other, and you want to be buddy, like, and you want a coaching opportunity down the road, and somebody, I'll go, oh, whoa, whoa, watch out for that guy, right? Because, and this is my advice to people that are trying to get into the game. You might not know who's on that other coaching staff, and you do not want to. Your resume building also comes with that. Be smart, be respectful. It's not about the coaches don't win or lose games. The players win and lose the games. And so many of these coaches are making it about themselves that they're so out of control that they don't understand that their egos are beyond, they're at a whole nother level in stratosphere. Just remember that it's about respect. At the end of the day, we respect each other and we're not playing against each other. The kids are playing, right? You're not beating Kevin Youkilis. You're not beating Dustin Pedroia. He has a team in Arizona. You're not beating the actual coaches. The kids are the game. It's the same thing all the way to the major league level. The best major manager in baseball cannot make the Colorado Rockies a winning club right now. And that's what people need to start realizing, and just keep that respect, have the competitive attitude that you coach to compete and all that, but it's not a battle between coaches. And I think people need to start learning that more, that you're not in a battle against another coach. It's about making sure that these kids are out here growing, learning, having fun, and not acting inappropriate too. Like you said too, I think that's great advice where you're like, hey, bring them together, get the noise out, right? Like, hey, guys, no more the noise. Our energy is not going to match their negative energy. And that's actually going to help me a lot down the road.
Yeah, and Flick Money really, he was my grad school in my 20s. I'd watch him as kids would be disruptive, disrespectful, as parents would be toxic, and just the way he reacted, responded, his body language, his tone, he led by example. So I always want to control that other side and go over there and just give advice to that coach who's doing it wrong. But a lot of times they're not going to hear what I say, but they will watch how I respond to a strikeout or a loss or an error. I see that with Coach Chop too, right? Just the body language of unconditional love when his kids have failed at something. And yeah, big picture thinking, that lens of what kind of human am I creating? Man, Warstick hit it on the head with you. I mean, their motto is battle, and I can't think of coaches. Can you think of anybody who battled more than Uke? I mean, maybe second place. Who you got? Flick Money, Chopper. Who else battles?
Man, I'm a Hunter Pence guy. Hunter's a grinder. But yeah, Uke is, I mean, torn from the same cloth. Uke came first. So Jordan and Kobe. Kobe would give credit to Jordan. So I think Hunter would give some credit to Uke. He's a grinder.
Yeah, well, if we're talking about Ohio legends, you got to go with a guy named Pete Rose from a
Down it.
generation before. He just, I played Uke. I played in the Great Lakes Collegiate League 2 summers in
Beautiful.
Salina, Ohio. Yeah,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
and my coach was a Brunswick. His dad, Lou Brunswick, was one of the winningest high school coaches in the history of the state, and was a scout for the Twins for a long time. He tells a great story that his buddy in scouting was Pete Rose's uncle, and was like, the scout was like, my family's given me so much crap to sign my nephew, and he has no tools, he can't play, and what am I going to do? And Lou Brunswick told him, well, why don't you just sign him, send him to the Florida State League, he'll wash out in a month, and then you can get everyone off your back. And he went down and hit 330 in the Florida State League and never looked back. So you're in that great line of absolute grinders. And just inspiring, man. You just gave guys like us who are out here, in the everyday, working, supporting families, helping kids out. You just gave me so much juice, man. I'm so grateful for your career, your time, and thanks for being so generous with us here today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for throwing in the Pete Rose thing because that's how I grew up. We had to be like Pete Rose. Charlie Hustle, all the stuff was you don't just jog. You go hard. And Pete Rose, I've always said this, I give so much credit to Pete Rose growing up. The lessons that were taught to us as kids in Cincinnati, I do believe that's why Cincinnati kids for like per capita, like it's not a huge population compare, there's a lot of kids that come out of there because that has been passed on generationally. That attitude, that desire, the will to win, and to just play the game hard. When I played against guys in Cincinnati that didn't make it, they were very talented. They usually were the ones that weren't the grinders. They were the ones that were kind of, just I don't know the right word for it, but I don't want to say prima donnas, but they were just more about them. They weren't about just get dirty. And my mom was great about it. She said, my mom has the best line. She says it to my kids. You never leave a baseball field without getting dirty. She's like, never, ever have a clean uniform after a baseball game.
Mic drop.
Yep, exactly. So good, man. Well, we could literally chat for hours, and we'd love to have you on as just a regular guest. So maybe in a couple months, we'll see how the 13U team's doing. We can check in here, but thank you for coming on, and man, excited to get down there. I'd love to just get down there, bring my drum, and I'll coach a station out in right field, a little base running station or something.
Love it.
Outstanding. Boys, anything to say to you because he hits the road?
Yeah, dude. Good luck. You can get my number from ball game. I've been in this space for a while. Made a lot of mistakes that I've learned from. So if you need anything, dude, don't hesitate. Reach out. Good luck. The boys are lucky to have you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I already know it.
That's learning. As you know, in baseball, you're going to learn. The learning is going to come fast. But what an honor to have you in the coaching profession, and thank you for changing lives, brother. Um, yeah, man, I feel inspired, Coach. Can we give him a little song love on the way out? Can we give Uke
I
a little
think so. So
dedication?
Uke's gonna sing you out, or Flicky will sing you out, and then you can just leave the room. We'll close up shop here, the three of us. But this is kind of a thing for Flick. He
All right.
serenades.
The
Making your
Cardinals.
way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot.
Three-time All-Star,
Wouldn't you like to
two-time
get
World Series
away?
champion, Gold
Sometimes
Glover,
you want to
the
go where
on-base
everybody
machine,
knows
a
your
freaking
name.
baseball player, and
And
the
they're always
all-time
glad you
hit-by-pitch record
came.
holder, Boston Red
You
Sox,
want to be where
the
you
new
can
coach of the
see troubles
13U,
are all the
War Stick,
same.
San
You want to
Diego,
be where everybody
Kevin
knows your name. And your uniform's
Youkilis.
dirty. Bang.
Attaboy.
That's a hit. Something to
See you,
put down.
brother.
Flick wakes up
Thank
and
you.
makes records. I love it.
Hey,
Good luck.
hey.
All right, guys. Have a good one. I'd love to
See
be
you.
on here again. Hit me up.
I'll hit you up for sure. Great Christopher Walken reference. Hey, I put my pants on one leg at a time. Thing is, once I put my pants on, I make gold records. Um, recap that one.
That's
Chopper, highlights. What do you got?
I mean, yeah, to know that he's working with 13-year-olds makes me happy. I know I agree with him. Like that's that age where the field gets bigger and parents don't if a parent's coaching a team, they don't really know how to navigate it. Their kids are going to throw too many pitches. The field gets big, so it gets discouraging even for your best players because those balls that were home runs are now just routine flyouts. So even your big boppers, it's tough. So to have someone like you that's like, hey, I had to grind my whole life. Nothing was given to me. You keep grinding. You put that process over the results, and it's a perfect age for him with that field. I didn't even think about that. The dimensions of the field lend themselves to like someone who's been there and done that.
Oh man, yeah, he's those parents are lucky to have him. I love how open and honest he was. Like he's competitive and he's got to tone that down and pump the brakes when need be, as we all do. We're all competitive. Flick Money, if you could maybe throw one highlight of your date night out there, what do you got?
as a we've talked about, all of us are lovers of long shots and the stray cats and the lost causes
Yeah.
and the grinders, and hearing him say, I want to be a part of the kids that are a little bit too small. They haven't started to mature yet. I want to make sure that I got their back so that they don't get washed out of the game too quickly. That just like literally little Sean Flicky on the inside. I mean, I needed a Snuggie and a little thumb saw. I was like just so full of like that kind of loving joy hearing him say that. That's Kevin Youkilis has got some kids back. That just fired me up, man.
The fact that he and Dustin Pedroia are coaching travel ball teams now, I mean, there's some grinders that are on the way in this next generation. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that one. That's a good get, and it was nice to take a dip inside that Red Sox clubhouse. Man, he never talked. But I think my highlight was probably his parents, just how they approached it. Get dirty, prioritize character, and pulling that car to the side and going, "Hey, if you want this, and I'm glad you want this, then it's yours. There's a tee in the backyard waiting for you to get better." So, for those of you with high emotional kids, he was. He was crying because he wasn't playing well. He's it was. Did you notice every time he talked about striking out or walking a guy, it bothered him? Like yeah, like
Still.
a lot of us have those types of kids, and as we say, when that matures, it's going to be awesome. How can we navigate it as parents and coaches? Man, A plus plus. I I'll end with this. My book comes out tomorrow. For anybody who's on the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter. There's a chapter dedicated to one Chad Chop. There's a chapter dedicated to one Sean Flicky, as you are a big reason why I am the way I am. So I love you both. You're good men. You're great coaches, and I'm excited. I'll be a little emotional as we're just releasing this out to the world. I was thinking about my favorite teacher, who's my North Star of mentoring, and it was my theater teacher at Brown University, who's no longer with us, Lowry Marshall. She sets the bar as far as teaching love of play, just caring about these kids. And I was a stray cat. I was an athlete that she brought in and said, "Hey, I don't know if you're going to be the next Brad Pitt, but I think some of these classes might help you in whatever you choose to do." And now I'm really using a lot of that mentorship as I coach kids. So um, she's definitely looking down from above. Lowry Marshall, at a girl. Guys, anything to close up today's episode?
Yeah, shout out to Brandon Crawford. They had his Brandon Crawford Day over the
Friend of the
weekend, and
pod.
they were gracious enough to fly me out there, had me on the field for the ceremony, which was crazy.
Attaboy.
A crazy sitting there with the Thrill, Matt Cain, Hunter Pence, Joe Panic, Matt Duffy, Gary Brown, Bobby Evans, Boach. Had Boach right behind me. Got to shake Boach's hand. Chops. What do you got? What
Hey,
you
can we
doing?
get Boach? Now, let's get Boach and Thrill on the pod. Might have to do some bleep outs for Thrill.
Dude, Thrill. I asked Thrill. I'm like, hey, how do you feel about Teacher Man? I haven't seen anything about you and Teacher Man. He loved it. He's not a huge Teacher Man guy, so that was a great conversation with Thrill.
Yes.
But super proud of Craw. I mean, 1,600 plus games at shortstop for his favorite team growing up. An unbelievable experience. So that was cool. Baseball can be cruel sometimes, and baseball can be beautiful. It was beautiful over the weekend for me and my family.
Awesome. Hope it filled up your cup a little bit, Chaparooski. Flick Money, take us out, man. What do you got? And it could be a poem. It could be a tune. It,
Soliloquy.
it could just be a facial expression.
Bang.
Sorry if you're not watching the YouTube. Bang.
It doesn't get any better than this.